All right, let's move on to the main event of the day. Michigan at Ohio State, noon kickoff on Fox on Saturday. Ohio State, 7.5-point home favorite, total of 56 in this one. And if I'm not mistaken, Brett, this spread is a lot smaller than it was on, the preseason lines when we came into the year here.
Yeah, so I have a lot to say about this game, obviously. You can see my
As
background.
You should.
My hoodie. I did get notes last week that I was wearing a Fort Worth hat and was so impassioned about TCU that I was actually called a homer a few times. Sorry about that. Yeah. I didn't pay attention to that one, but that's okay.
The kid from Ohio is a TCU homer.
Yeah, sorry about that. Anyway, but if you're looking at each of the last two games, which is what a lot of people are going to do, and I think a lot of reason why this line is what it is, Ohio State struggled severely with Maryland. That's kind of what happens from time to time when you are the hunted every game. When you are the top dog, you're going to get every single team's best effort every single week. Maryland has given Ohio State fits in the past. This isn't I came out here and said that 27.5 was not enough, and that was not the case whatsoever. I was very wrong about that game, but that happens from time to time here. That said, Ohio State, they're beat up at running back. CJ Stroud, not a great quarterback when he has to go off schedule. Fortunately for him, his receivers are so good and the scheme is usually pretty good that he's not normally off schedule. And then we also saw that this defense that's been playing well all year can play poorly. Now, was this a look-ahead spot on the road? Yeah, I kind of think it was. I think if you play this game 10 times over, I don't think you're going to see a similar-ish result. Michigan, their offense completely shuts down without Blake Corum. He's a Heisman frontrunner for a reason. He's terrific, second in the nation in rushing touchdowns, and that's without playing the entire second half against Illinois. He dressed, but he kind of tweaked his leg, and they didn't play him. Now, did they hold him out of that second half for this game so he can be 100%? Maybe Harbaugh was confident enough that his team was good enough to beat Illinois, but they started to get down, and they still didn't put Corum out there. So I think he's going to play. If you saw on Twitter, he was out delivering turkeys, something he does every year. He's a great guy. He takes his NIL money and buys 300 families turkeys every year. He was out there walking them around without a brace, looking fine. He said he's going to play. But is he going to play at 100%? I don't know. We'll see that. And his backup, Donovan Edwards, I don't know about him either. He hasn't played in a while. I don't think he's going to play in this game. That said, though, with Ohio State, I just don't like this matchup. I didn't like it last year. I don't like it this year. Michigan is going to run the ball 100 times because they won last year with that, and the Ohio State team isn't really all that different from last year. So I think they're going to run the ball a million times on them. I think they're going to be able to pick chunk yards up time and time again. I don't think this is going to be something where Ohio State can separate with electric plays because Michigan's defense is good enough to cap those. Again, though, we're looking at a different backfield. Corum, maybe not 100%. Donovan Edwards, maybe not playing at all. So who's going to carry that load for Michigan is my question, and that really depends. Now, on the other side of the football, or the sideline rather, Mayan Williams for Ohio State, he's been injured all year. But when he plays, he is terrific. He's a bowling ball. He runs everybody over. And the offense is so different with him playing at 100% than when he's not playing at 100% or not playing at all. Again, when he's on the sideline, this offense struggles. Even with Trevion Henderson, who has injury issues of his own, I do worry about those two things a little bit. Ohio State's defense, 3.1 yards per rush allowed this year. That's pretty good. They shut down Roman Hemby, who's been having a terrific year for Maryland last week. And, good wide receivers are what hurts Ohio State's defense this year. They're not very strong in the secondary. They have a couple of guys, but not a lot of depth. And that's why Maryland was able to move the ball with their trio of terrific receivers. Michigan has any pass catchers? I don't really know because they don't throw the ball a whole lot. So I don't think they're going to hurt them with playmaking wide receivers, which has been the Achilles heel for Ohio State. You saw it with Parker Washington against Penn State a few weeks ago. So I just don't think Michigan has the tools in that department, but I still think they're going to be able to move the ball up front. I also question if Michigan can even pass the ball when they need to. They haven't shown it this year. They didn't against Illinois. They should have lost that game probably. A couple of questionable calls at the end of that game. There's a world in which Michigan's offense shuts completely down. There's also a world that Ohio State blows them out of the water. There's also a world where Michigan does the same thing to Ohio State that they did last year because this is a very similar setup to that game. I think I'm probably going to bet this live, if at all. I normally don't like to bet my own team. This game takes enough emotionally out of me in the first place to bet it, so I typically don't. But if I'm looking at it, probably betting this live, I tried to look at the Michigan first half line because I think that they'll keep it close in the first half. I'm not paying minus 120 for 4.5. That's about what I was seeing out there. I've also seen people in our Discord saying that they're interested in playing under 28.5 in the first half. That is interesting to me as well. So if you're looking at it, live line, first half under, that's about where I fall on this one.
You know what, Brett? Nothing wrong with that, all right? We live in a day and age where we are not forced to have a pregame opinion when it comes to our bets. We have the luxury, if we want to watch to see how the game's playing out early on, to see if a team is moving the ball well, if that was a concern coming into the game. And even if they don't score points on that drive, we at least are encouraged in their ability to move the ball down the field and possibly get a better number than what we saw pregame. So the flip side of that is also true. If a team's getting dominated, you might not get the best of the number in a live situation, but there still might be value based on the new information that you have from the first quarter or the first half of that game. So I think you make great points here. It's the biggest game on the slate, obviously, and there's a bit of confusion on each side here of how this is going to play out, as a lot of Ohio State Michigan games tend to do, especially after Michigan pulled the upset last year. So nothing wrong with waiting for a live number here, and it sounds like that's what your strategy is going to be.
Yeah, the last note on that with the live is I believe we'll know how this game is going to shake out after the first drive for each team. When you see whether Blake Corum's out there, see how he's running, and you see how comfortable CJ Stroud is out there, that is going to dictate what the whole rest of the game is. I don't think it's going to be they come out and struggle on the first drive and then light it up. I think you're going to be able to tell after the first drive for each team.